Hey, I'm Black Dragon. Welcome to Black Dragon Biker TV. And as always, I'd like to thank you all for tuning in from wherever it is that you happen to be. This is an interesting night tonight where we're going to be talking about something a little bit different. Haven't done something like this before, but in the wake of the tragedy that happened with the Titan, we found out tonight that they are not with us. The there was an implosion. The submersible didn't make it, and I spent a great deal of time in the submarine service, and so I thought I would collect some of my very dearest shipmates that I served with over a period of time, and I thought we would talk about it from a professional submarine veteran standpoint. So I am going to talk to you guys about that. We're going to get right into it after this very brief introduction. I'll be right back. Stick in and enjoy the show. Howdy, folks. Howdy. I'm Black Dragon. Welcome to Black Dragon Biker TV. And as always, I'd like to thank you all for tuning in from wherever it is you happen to be. We're going to bring in our guest right now. So let me introduce the gallery. We've got a lot of my friends here that I served with together in the submarine force. So we'll start at the top. Master Chief Hauser, welcome, man. Welcome to the show, and tell everybody a little bit about you.
Well, I'm a retired Master Chief. Out of the 22 years I spent in serving in Uncle Sam's Canoe Club, I spent about 17 of it under the water, serving in the various submarines from the oldest nuclears to the newest nuclears, everything in between. I've run the dirty jobs as well as the clean jobs from one end of the boat to the other, and I'll tell you what, this is a tragedy, not anything less than what you've seen on the loss of the Thresher or the Scorpion. Every one of us feel it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, sir, for coming on, and we appreciate you. Next is Vernon Powell. Vernon, tell us a little bit about you, sir. 26 years of service. We appreciate you.
Hello, Vernon Poe. Thank you. Vernon Poe, retired submariner, fire control technician, 26 years. Like Master Chief said, this is a somber situation. You don't ever want to see loss of life, but we'll talk about it in a professional manner. And you know, I'd like to say blessings to all the families that have lost loved ones during this situation.
I appreciate you. We got Fred Bigby, very dear friend, served for a long time with. Fred, it's good to have you, man. Tell us a little bit about yourself. It's so good to see you after all these years, man.
Yes, I spent 20 years on various submarine related duties. Uh, 4 different submarines I've been deployed on, and the brothering of the fin when can relate to being underwater and the stresses that cause. So again, we're all kind of bound together, and we feel for them.
Yes. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate you. One of my best friends in the world, Keith Corley. We served many years together, you, me, and Fred. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name is Keith Corley. I'm a fire control technician. Served on 2 submarines. One was a Thresher class, the USS Dace out of Groton, Connecticut, and the USS Guitarro out of San Diego, California. First and foremost, condolences go out to the families. Like Fred said, we do understand and can empathize with what those families might be going through and what even the men on that submersible may have been going through. We had this discussion amongst ourselves once before when the Soviet submarine Kursk went down. So this is something that's close to our hearts, and we do understand the significance of the loss.
I appreciate you, man. And one of my best friends in the whole wide world, everybody's my best friend in the whole wide world. Lawrence Andrus served with you from 87 to 93 on the Salt Lake City. No, actually the Memphis.
Memphis.
I forget that. What hell submarines I've been on. Hey, man, tell us a little bit about you.
Nowhere close to serving as many years as my prestige colleagues on the panel here, but I was an interior communication electrician on board the Memphis. I was a central atmosphere monitoring system tech, Mark 19, 27 gyro technician, battery charging electrician, forward. I board certified. I saw boards to give people qualified submarine. And, I felt very sad on the first day when they were looking, when they were doing the search and rescue part of the mission. I already knew those people were, not with us, and that just comes to me. I do need to have this conversation because, that having to be regulated. So.
Right. So, man, I wanted to start with this guy did a show, and I wanted to start off with some of the things he talked about, and then get some of you guys' opinion on it. So, this is called Sub Brief. This is a show done by a guy a couple days ago, and he had come to the same similar conclusion that they were gone a couple days ago. I got to tell you guys, I felt like there was a chance. I kind of felt like they were still alive when they were talking about hammering. They had heard hammering and stuff like that. I had hoped for the best, and I just talked to Master Chief Lewis, who told me that he knew they were gone from the beginning too. But that was the conclusion this guy came up with, and we're going to play a little bit of him and then get you guys' reaction as we go along. So let's play a little bit of this.
The Oceangate Expeditions update. My name is Aaron. I am the CEO and founder of Sub Brief. I am a 20-year submarine veteran from the United States Navy Submarine Force and a subject matter expert in submarines. I'm here to give you my opinion on what happened with this Titan tragedy today. So the Oceangate Expedition is a manned submarine transport company that leverages college graduate engineers with off-the-shelf technology for cost-effective subsea research. On Sunday, June 18th, 2023, Oceangate suffered loss of communication with their Titan submarine, a deep-diving Cyclops class. Titan was designed to take up to 5 people to the Titanic wreck site and other deep-water locations. As the Titan descended with its crew of 5 to the Titanic wreck, an hour and 40 minutes into the dive, communication with the submersible was lost. This is about the same time that she was scheduled to drop ballast and touch bottom at near the 2-hour mark. So those may be connected. We're not sure yet. Loss of communication with the vessel below 3,000 meters is not uncommon. It's a non-zero chance of happening as it happened during testing. So it was not unexpected. So as the hours passed on June 18th, 2023, communication was not reestablished during the 10-hour dive. After approximately 12 hours, the topside support team on the ship Polar Prince contacted the U.S. Coast Guard at 9:13 p.m. to report loss of contact with their vessel. That's a summary of what happened. So in this video, I'm going to describe to you vessel construction, the systems that they have on board, the concerns that I have about the design, about its experimental build. And first, a disclaimer from Oceangate Expedition. Listen to this.
An experimental submersible vessel that has not been approved or certified by any regulatory body and could result in physical injury, disability, emotional trauma, or death. Where do I sign?
Well, I think we'll start with that. Where do I sign?
Here. Right. I mean,
Was that a lie?
I mean, really.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, we can start with the design of the ship. You know, as I told everybody that spoke with me, a lot of people were calling me, you know, and I said that the ship looks like a carnival ride. Nothing that I would ever, you know, say take me deep underwater with at all. You know, not to mention you got, you know, view portals and all this kind of nonsense going on. Obviously, with all those kind of features, there was more attention paid to those kind of features, none paid to backup. You know, submarines have backups for everything. You know what I mean? Backups for communication, backup for, you know, this kind of, none of, you know, carnival ride. And, you know, these people trust thousands of feet underwater. So it's unfortunate.
Master Chief?
And then, yeah, I mean, go ahead.
Couple of quick thoughts. First off, bubbleheads, submariners. We're like the motorcyclists. We are rogues. We're a unique breed. We take the daring and we do it. That being said, this guy tried to do it on the cheap.
Right.
That's not what you want to risk your life for.
Right. Powell?
I would say some of the key things for me was when they started talking about the commercial off the shelf, you know, to cut costs. And that goes down the path like Master Chief was saying. He was trying to do it on the cheap. And I'm sure there was some corners cut. And unfortunately, lives were lost.
Keith?
You know, the thing that they said experimental and not approved.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I'm not the one. I mean, it took one time for the U.S. Navy to lose one submarine, and they revamped the entire submarine program subset. And that took years and millions and billions of dollars to do. Yet this experimental, approved submersible can go in excess of 2 miles deep underwater. No, I'm not.
Let me piggyback on you. The Alvin, the Trieste, we had all of those, and they had all those lessons learned. They could have used them.
Right. Right. Fred?
I've been out of touch here the last few days, so I don't have all the details, but everything that I've heard of, and based on my experience of being on submarines and all the systems and that we had to learn and do, and being a certified diver, I wouldn't have got in a swimming pool on that with that thing.
Okay.
So that's all I got.
Let's look a little bit at, of the design since we want to talk about it.
Where do I sign, right? So Oceangate Expedition waiver explains just how experimental this design is. It's not registered or certified by any agency or the Coast Guard, like some of their other submarines actually are. This one is not. This is like an experimental plane, but it's a submarine in this case. And it spells out the dangers in writing for everybody on board, and that you may die if you ride on board this submersible. says it right there in the waiver. So let's talk about the data sheet that they have. This is from the Oceangate website. The Titan is a 21,000 pound, 22 foot long, electrically driven submarine for 5 people. The test depth is calculated to be 4,000 meters, and this is kind of key because right now this is just the naval architect engineering calculating the strength of the pressure vessel without an actual dynamic test at sea at this point, 4,000 meters. It is built of 5 inches of carbon fiber with a titanium hatch glued on the bow and a steel or titanium dome on the aft. It has 96 hours of life support, which is very vague. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Sensors and systems on board are built and produced by Teledyne Blueview. They have the 2D sonar and the Doppler velocity INS, which is an inertial navigation system that is upgraded with the ultra-short baseline, which means it's very accurate at calculating motion while submerged. And this system, I know, is very good. I have no questions about the Teledyne equipment. It's probably the best thing on this thing that actually works. All right, so here's the pressure hull under construction. As you can see, it's just a carbon fiber weave that is just loomed left and right until it becomes 5 inches thick. It's a carbon fiber wrap that's designed to withstand the pressures of 4,000 meters of sea depth. Here is a video of it being, of the titanium hatch rings being installed on one of the ends. Watch this. That's the adhesive right there.
I can't believe they're gluing this damn thing
Think of
together.
it like a very thick glue. It's going to bond the titanium ring that you see there onto the carbon fiber pressure hull. And they only get one chance to do this because once it's on, that bonding agent adheres. And it's not coming back off again after this. So they very carefully line it up. And it looks like they got it right. So good job getting the hatch rings on. This is going to go on both sides, the forward bow and the aft section. Here's what the aft section looks like. The aft section is simply an aft dome that is placed on that titanium ring. On the front, there is an access hatch that we'll show you here in a second. But now I want you to watch this short interview that the CEO of Oceangate, Mr. Stockton Rush, had with Teledyne Marine representatives. Teledyne Marine are making the sonar systems and inertial navigation systems for this vessel. But listen to what he talks about. The CEO talks about hiring people.
Yes, I mean, when I started the business, one of the things you'll find there are other sub operators out there, but they typically have gentlemen who are ex-military submariners, and you'll see a whole bunch of 50-year-old white guys. I wanted our team to be younger, to be inspirational, and I'm not going to inspire a 16-year-old to go pursue marine technology, but a 25-year-old, who's a sub pilot or a platform operator or one of our techs can be inspirational. And so we've really tried to get very intelligent, motivated, younger individuals involved because we're doing things that are completely new. We're taking approaches that are used largely in the aerospace industry is related to safety and some of the preponderance of checklists, things we do for risk assessments and things like that that are more aviation related than ocean related. And we can train people to do that. We can train someone to pilot the sub. We use a game controller so anybody can drive the sub.
All right, so
Yes.
Controller.
Yeah, guys. So I think we have DJ Holly in that just joined from the DJ. You there?
Yeah, I'm here, but I'm picking up a rental car. Give me 6 minutes.
Okay. All right. So just come back on when you come back. So anyway, some of my brothers are coming in. So my gosh, they sound really cavalier about everything. And yeah, when we were younger, I mean, young people, they bring young people onto the submarine. When we were young, we didn't know anything when we went on. But what do you think about that? Lawrence?
I mean, yeah, of course, very young, man. Everybody's young going in like that most of the time with submarines. You need to be young, really. I mean, and very attentive, and hopefully you'll be able to, live to be an old man and be able to, pass your wisdom down to some future submariners, So, yeah, you need to be young, but I mean, you can't be frivolous with it. And that's why it's a rigorous training program with the submarine fleet.
How long were you in sub school? How long were we in sub school? What was that like? Talk about that.
One of the schools that I'm a technician in, so you had to go to that. And then once you went to all the school, you had to go to the boat and get certified, I mean, get qualified, get qualified. So, and the submarine qualification is like no other. There's no, graping off. There's no multiple choice. You got to sit down with somebody and explain to him that you know what you're talking, And so without that kind of qualification process, I wouldn't trust the crew, they fail these, the people, and you had that waiver. I mean, that was questionable at best. I mean, who would sign something like that? I mean, but they did.
Submarine school was 8 weeks long, and this was after boot camp, or once you decided to volunteer for submarines. It didn't matter what rate or rank you were, you had to go to submarine school to get your basic understanding of how a submarine works. And of course, once you got to your submarine, of course, they told you everything that you learned in sub school, forget about it. We're going to teach you how it really is.
And then a lot of us, before we went to sub school, we had to go to our rating school to learn our rate. For a few of us, fire control, Lawrence was a nice seaman. Greg, Master Chief, was a nuclear person. Did you do all the nuke jobs, Master Chief?
Oh, yeah. I've been, since I got out, doing all kinds of other types of nuclear jobs as well. But I went from the nukes to becoming the Cobb, and that was another strange path. But I got to remind you guys, who was the guy sitting at the helm and at the planes? Those were 17, 18, and 19-year-old kids.
That's right.
They were the ones driving it. And
That's
today
right.
we're using PlayStations and video feeds on periscopes. That's good. I like that. But we also had those 50-year-old white guys, as they said, that had been around and were sharing their knowledge to the 19-year-olds so they could know how to drive that submarine.
Yeah.
It was a
That's
constant learning environment.
Constantly.
No room for mistakes.
Constantly. And you always have the more experienced people there. They are you are doing it, but they are there. So if you start screwing it up, we got the incident, you did it, didn't you? And all that with the XO, me and John. Yeah, but there's always somebody looking over your shoulder. Nobody's gonna let you kill all of us. So, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I was glad,
That's true.
that
Even though we had those 17, 18, and 19-year-old kids sit in the helm or sit in the planes, they went under instruction first.
right, for sure.
They didn't just jump in there and learn it or know how to do it. They were under instruction and got signed off. They were doing.
I want to
That's right.
piggyback.
Hold on. I'll buy that, but I'm going to point out one piece. I got a photo of my mother, God rest her soul now, sitting at the helm driving that submarine underway. And there was no UI instruction to watch for her.
But you had a dive and you had another plane.
You had a dive and a chief of the watch. Right there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Fred,
Like what we're talking about is we had that balance. You had the new guys, but you also had the old guys to back them up, share the knowledge, train them. So as they progressed through their training, they became the old guys. Whereas this system that they just had a bunch of young engineers running around, doing what they wanted to do.
The short of it is, they threw out the experience.
Yes.
Right.
Fred, you were saying something. You wanted to piggyback on something?
Yeah, I wanted to piggyback behind Master Chief when he said deep submergence vessels have already learned all the lessons, and there was no reason to throw all that knowledge out. The word was thrown around and said cavalier, but this was just a grave disrespect for the depths of the ocean. And just like in all of our rates, we learn when you start not what you're doing, it'll kill you. And here we are.
You know, the video mentioned 4,000 meters was the test depth. That's 13,000 feet. So the Titanic, so they're just operating freely at test depth. We on our sub would go down, tap it, and get back up.
Right.
Yeah,
because like somebody was saying, I heard one of the commanders, they were saying earlier that, submarine practical purpose at low, they just don't.
Right.
No real reason for us to be down there.
Right. Well,
but I think a lot of it too is a lack of damage control. They never think about the worst case scenario and what they were going to do. That's why we got awakened all the time with drills and all of that worst case scenario. Let's burn it on fire. Put the boat out. We got a flood. Get up and go. You got to be ready for the worst case scenario, especially when you're going around. I mean, you can't take that too lightly. I mean, going down that deep, you got to be crazy. I mean,
well, let's go back to the design.
Okay.
Why didn't he test the design dynamically before he put it in the water? We've got test chambers that we can press up. That glue holding, that is a major flaw just waiting to happen.
Or a scale model test?
Well,
even that.
You still got to do a dynamic test. You've got to do a dynamic test. And they talk about it later in this video. And the dynamic test he did was, I think, down to 3,000 feet or 2,000 feet. And he was only down there for an hour. That's later in this video. So he didn't do a real scale dynamic test at the depth that he was operating at. And then I just can't believe you would subject glue to salt water. That's like using EB Green to to take something down. And
don't say nothing about EB Green now.
Hey, that was good to 65.
I got balls right now.
EB Green fixed a lot of stuff for real, though. I mean,
it did.
Yeah. Well, we didn't put it on the outside of the ship.
But what I understand though, you couldn't access the hatch from the inside. It was bolted down from the outside. That's another thing that I had a problem with. Are you kidding me? You're talking about you bolted in, and even if they wanted to surface, they couldn't get out. They would have still needed somebody with the proper tools and everything to get them out. In
an emergency, let's say you got them down there and they only had 9 minutes of air left and you were able to get them to the surface. You still need half an hour to get the bolts off. And so that, there is, you're absolutely dead if something doesn't go right.
Exactly.
The other thing is, what about atmospheric monitoring and stuff like that? These guys were in a tube that had air being pumped in it some kind of way. But what about things like how much carbon monoxide is in the air or carbon dioxide in the air? And Lawrence, you were a atmosphere monitor. Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm pretty sure that they had. I can't say really pretty sure. I mean, I'm pretty sure they probably had some type of device that they were trying to monitor the air with, but whatever it was, it probably wasn't efficient.
No, we never saw that. This guy talks about in this video that he didn't see any of that. A little bit later in the video, that he wasn't.
I would just hate to think about going down 13,000 feet and there's no monitoring of the atmospheric, the air that's in it. I can't imagine that. I mean, I just can't imagine that. But I mean, since it wasn't regulated, then I imagine they could have very well, been doing it without any type of monitoring. But
And so, like, what if you have a fire in there? How do you get rid of the bad air, or the carbon dioxide? What do you do if you
can't?
if you
You
got
can't.
a fire?
You can't.
What if one of the electronic pieces of equipment starts smoking? How do you dissipate that? What do you do?
With everything I've read and I've saw the diagrams that I've saw so far of that ship, there's no way you can do anything with any of that. And once they lost power, they didn't have any ability to do anything anyway. Whatever, once they lost power, they had no secondary source of power. And once they lost power, that was it. They lost communications and everything else that goes along with it.
Well, communications. They decided to go with a text message system that would text message every, I think, 15 minutes or something, their position. And I heard someone say that the reason that they went to that system is that the captain didn't want to be bothered with hearing reports from the ship every 4 or 5 minutes. He wanted to be looking at his wreck. So they went to this monitoring system where it would just send information every 10 or 15 minutes. So it was quite uncommon, or quite common rather, for them to lose touch with the mothership, which I thought was kind of crazy. And there was no transponder in case you ran into trouble where people could find you automatically or easily.
Okay. Again, I mentioned that I was kind of out of touch. For you guys who have followed this a little closer, let's just jump right to the end. There wasn't any kind of emergency blow system. There wasn't any kind of emergency buoyant.
No chicken switches.
No kind of chicken switch. Yeah, none. None. You got to be kidding me, right? I'm serious about, man. I was like, you got to be kidding me.
Could they have had some airbag system on the outside of the submarine? Push a button.
Anything.
Right.
Give me something.
They had a system that was designed to make it come back to the surface, and I think it was designed to do it automatically. So they had some kind of a system.
But once they lost power, it didn't work. Nothing worked without power.
That's why they always had, even on submarines, nuclear, as advanced as they are, there's still that mechanical aspect where you can actually do something by hand.
Like,
you got to have that backup, that mechanical backup.
Hand pumps run almost everything. And the chicken switches. For people that don't know what chicken switches are, who wants to tell them? Fred, you want to tell them about the chicken switches?
Sure. Chicken switches are a mechanical method of venting high pressure air into tanks that are external to the submarine. And this has nothing to do with speed, power, or anything. It's like letting a ball underwater loose. It's coming to the surface in an uncontrolled ascent. And yeah, we had that ability as divers in our vests, in our BCs, methods to come back to the surface. So I'm just appalled at just about everything I'm hearing in regards to this. That's why I said I wouldn't have got in a swimming pool with this thing.
I wouldn't either. And the thing about the chicken switches, they're called emergency blow valves, I think they were called. And we called them chicken switches because, we would say you're a chicken if you're going to use them. And there was always something that guys would say, well, bust me on the surface. Because I'm hitting the chicken switches and we're on our way up to the surface. Things get bad, we're on our way up. So that I found that to be crazy, that you wouldn't have backup propulsion, particularly. You wouldn't have venting. You wouldn't have atmosphere monitoring. You wouldn't have ways to get like maybe even some CO2 candles or oxygen candles and
O2 burners, yeah.
and O2 burners or
Chlorine.
maybe
But Black Dragon, all the stuff we're talking about, that information would have been shared if they had ex-submariners there. You didn't have to have a whole team of ex-submariners, at least 2 or 3, to share that information with these young engineers, and they negated all that.
it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Here's another one. If you have a fire in there, some kind of smoke, is there a secondary breathing system with positive airflow? An EAB system of some kind, which is emergency air breathing system for those. So where are the backups? So let's take a look at let's take a look if we can at what
you got
it
there?
looked like. Oh my goodness.
All right.
Where's the rest of it?
That's all I got. That's
all we need to see right there.
Yeah.
show it to him, Fred. Oh, that's funny, man. So that was the hookup into the emergency breathing system. You would run. That's the dust cap.
Dust cover. That's the dust cover.
You would run from spot to spot and pull that dust cover and plug into the thing.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. That's really cool. I need one of those. You got 2 of them, Fred?
I don't have 2 of them. Nor do I have a white coffee cup with a blue line around it, Keith.
No, but if you look on eBay, you can find them both.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Okay, this is we're gonna get another look here at some things. They're gonna show us inside this thing.
So Stockton
and that's gonna blow you away.
Rush, the CEO of Oceangate Expeditions, avoided hiring submarine veterans because we're 50-year-old white men like myself and would not inspire young people. And that's a valid reason. I wouldn't expect, say, the young teenage generation to look up to me and be like, I want to be like that guy. I kind of get that. But also, you don't want to just only hire young college graduates that you would then train to inspire the next generation. You have to have subject matter experts at some point in the chain. And I'm not talking about the vice admiral that's on the board of directors. We're not even going to talk about him. He's a retired Coast Guard admiral, served, honorably, no problems there. But you don't seem to have a subject matter expert that's from the submarine community that could maybe talk about some of the problems that we're going to go over today. Just some things that I've seen just from your promotional videos on your site. The team included technicians that threw a hammer in college was his qualification, besides being a college graduate. Another college graduate was a surfer. He hired him on because he enjoyed his surfing stories, I guess. I don't know. But the idea was to train these young college graduates in operating the submarine with a game controller. Let's take a look at this game controller. It's a PlayStation 3 wireless controller. I really don't have a problem with it being a PlayStation controller. It could be any kind of controller that they want. I really have a problem with it being wireless. You don't want to control your submarine with a wireless connection. Like, what happens if the batteries die? Do you have an extra set? Do you always put fresh batteries in on every dive? Did you bring extra batteries? Is there a USB port where in a pinch you could plug the controller into whatever system you have there and actually control, or does it have to maintain a Bluetooth connection? Did you bring a spare? And does that spare sync properly if the primary controller doesn't work? Like, are these things that they thought about? I hope so. We don't know. They've only shown this one. All right, so let's talk about access. This is the bow or the front of the Titan. And the only way in and out of the submarine is through this forward hatch that is held on by 17 bolts. There is no other egress. There's no other way out of the submarine other than through the 17 bolted hatch. And there's no way to open it from the inside. You can't undo the bolts from the inside or swing the hatch open. You are completely dependent on the surface support vessel topside whenever you get in this thing that they're going to let you back out before your 96 hours of air runs out. So he talks about taking examples and learning lessons from the aviation community. Well, one of the worst non-flight disasters in NASA history was from the Apollo 1, where 3 astronauts lost their lives doing a systems check on the launch pad while they were bolted into their capsule. You know, there was a fire that started in there. They were alive when the fire started. They reported it to the control center, said, "Get us out of here, get us out of here. There's a fire." And before they could get the bolts off, the astronauts had passed away. This is a very important lesson learned that apparently Stockton didn't learn from, or at least forgot, because he's locking people into this submarine with no way for them to quickly get out themselves in the case of a casualty. So let's talk about life support. The datasheet claims that it has 96 hours of life support for 5 people. My question is, how was this tested? Did they put 5 people in this submarine while it was ashore, sealed them in there with 17 bolts, and waited even 24 hours to see how good the air quality was after 1 day, much less 4 days? Was that test ever done? We don't know. There's no information on that. There's simply a claim on the website that they have 96 hours of life support. Where is the atmosphere monitoring system? In all these photos, I don't see any air pitons or sensors anywhere. And in all the displays that I see from their public website, there's no indication of oxygen levels and other, toxic gas levels like CO2, carbon monoxide, all these things that could generate. You need to be aware of those levels. And if they are aware, it's just not available on any of their photos. Did they just keep pumping oxygen into the capsule while it was underway so they could keep the CO2 and oxygen level in a proper ratio? Well, there's a lot of other gases involved with that you have to manage as well. So they need to keep track of that stuff. If they were just adding oxygen to the environment, well, that creates a high oxygen environment. What happens when you're locked inside a capsule in a high oxygen environment and you're operating electronics? Well, you burn up in your Apollo capsule like an astronaut. That's another possibility of what happened here. We just need to know more about this life support system.
Wow. What do you guys think?
I think the guy that calls himself an SME pointed out a couple of good items. I don't see any life support sustaining systems. So I don't lend much credence to the oxygen high. I think if anything, they could bleed some and get lucky to raise it up to living level, but nothing to scrub it.
Right. So scrubbers and burners, let's talk about those for a minute. And again, Lawrence, that's your expertise, is it not?
Yeah, for sure. But much like the gentleman was saying, you saw absolutely no indication of any of that. You know what I mean? You absolutely saw anything that would indicate that they were monitoring anything. And like he said, they actually told you that they didn't monitor that kind of thing. And how you could be going 12 or 13,000 feet under the water and not have that kind of thing monitored is absolutely incredible. I cannot imagine. I just can't imagine.
I know one thing, if they even had anybody that was a former submariner while topside, while they were putting the bolts on, that submarine was saying, dee, dee, dee.
Yeah.
Hey, I don't think that's a good idea.
Absolutely.
No way in hell. No way in hell.
And just imagine, even if they did get them, what if the impact wrench? What if they didn't have an impact wrench? How fast they're gonna unscrew it this way?
Yeah. You need.
And then, like he said, how did they derive those numbers that 5 people could live on that air for that amount of time? How exactly?
All
what was the
calculated.
test that they used to come up with those?
It was an engineer and a piece of sheet and a pencil.
There you go.
Calculated.
So the numbers could have been absolutely right.
Calculated,
Well,
not
this
tested.
wasn't his first dive either.
Right. But that's a lot to put on that those calculations. You still got to do theory to practice. at some point you got to do theory to practice.
That's
You
what
know
he threw out.
what?
He threw out all the experience that would have told him that.
Yes, and where I work now, we have a lot of young engineers, but we also have submariners there to let them know, hey, that doesn't work in the real world.
Exactly.
You got to have that balance. I don't know how many times we caught, different things here where, yeah, technically it worked, but it didn't make sense for that environment.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about those regular computers. Like there was no subsafe or no ANUYK standards or anything like that. You know what I'm talking about? Like, what if you got salt water on your controller? What if you? I'm blown away. And then the people tank was not one piece; it was two caps and two caps glued on. Was there any welding on the whole damn thing?
I don't think
Well, it
so.
had carbon fiber, so you can't weld that.
Right.
Were there some?
That's woven, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. In fact, in this video, he shows the carbon fiber winding, I believe.
Yep. 5 inches thick.
And I think they had expected for it to be 7 inches thick, and it came in at 5 inches thick, and that's when they had some guys quit, saying that right here is the carbon fiber winding that he showed us, which was this is how they put it together right here.
About the Teledyne equipment. It's probably the best thing on that is just loomed left and right until it becomes 5 inches thick. It's a carbon fiber wrap that's designed to withstand the pressures of 4,000 meters of sea depth.
So it looks like they have some sort of was this a whole solid cylinder? It couldn't have been. So you just had the two end pieces and then this carbon fiber going down it some kind of way. Is crazy.
The pressure that they were feeling at 12,000 feet, that's about a little over 5,000 pounds. That's about 5,200 pounds per square inch.
Per square inch.
So
Yeah.
imagine if it broke through at any point where the glue or the carbon fiber was.
At any point,
Yeah.
at any point where you start getting some shearing or something. So you go down one time, you go down two times, because there's a test where after you've been down a few times, don't they take the whole thing apart and retest it again, and to prove that everything is still up and running, Master Chief? Isn't there something in that part of the testing?
Yep, that's exactly what it is.
What was the thickness of the pressure hull? For us?
5 inches.
So 5 inches of pure steel versus 5 inches of carbon fiber. We can stop right there.
Okay.
We can stop right there.
Exactly.
Hey, guys, I'm gonna say this, okay? The older boats may have been 5 inches. The new ones are not 5 inches. And when I actually saw it, I looked. I was like, I questioned my whole 26 years when you see the actual hull, and then to see what this guy put together and took people out on, that's ridiculous.
I haven't been on a boat since 1989. What do submarines look like now? Do they have joystick controllers in them?
They have all that, the game controllers, but there's a backup, just like my man said earlier. There's a backup to the backup. Everything's, they haven't gotten away from that.
Redundancy works.
Yes.
For sure.
So do they have the big, heavy, thick computers that we used to have that could take seawater and all this kind of stuff and big flooding? And they got regular old 50-inch TV screens and suckers now?
That's pretty much what you'll see.
Wow.
Like Star.
So you won't see Yuck 7s.
Wow.
No ones and zeros. Still know how to do my
No maintenance
on
panels.
John, you'd feel more like you walked into Best Buy than a submarine.
Yep. You'll see screens everywhere. I mean, it's
I heard that they don't even have periscopes anymore, that they have these circles around. They have everyone in control can look at the screen.
Yep.
And not even, there's no body on a periscope anymore. Is that true?
absolutely.
Yep.
Wow, that's
I
incredible.
can't imagine. You don't have a guy running around in circles the whole time looking that we don't get run over. Whose job is it then?
Everybody's.
One of my best experiences in my entire submarine career, Periscope. I got a chance to watch us sink one of those ships out there and blew it up, and I was on the Periscope. I got a chance to have my greatest experience. Really memorable, I'll tell you that.
That's gone. There's no more periscopes. Now
One of
they're
my
just-
memorable experiences is they left me on the scope as the ship was submerging, man. And
Yes.
I thought that was the coolest thing. I was an E3 at the time. That was the coolest thing ever. It only
Did they make
happened
you go
once.
around- Did they make you go around in circles the whole
Yep,
time?
they had me go
Yeah.
around circles doing the whole thing, whole routine. I enjoyed that.
My worst experience on the periscope, I was always a seasick person, and so they threw me on the periscope. And as the ship was going back and forth, I got seasick, and the A-ganger threw a plastic bag at me, and a senior chief came up with a mouthful of sardines and mayonnaise and opened up his mouth in front of me, while another senior chief blew a cigar in my face, and I threw up in this bag. And they made me tie it around my waist and keep looking out of the periscope. And they called me Bags for about 6 months after that. Hey, Bags. It's horrible.
Yeah, that's submarine life for you.
They were tough, man. That was when they were still smoking on ships, and they'd blow smoke in your face when they got mad at you. Oh my goodness, great times. Jim Keys, USS Memphis was the first boat to test a non-penetrating periscope as an R&D boat. Were you on that? Were you on it then, Lawrence?
You say what now?
Were you on the Memphis when they tested a non-penetrating periscope?
No, I wasn't.
That was long after we left it.
Yeah, for
Wow.
sure. For
That
sure.
was somebody on our submarine after we left.
Yeah, it actually the Memphis turned into our research and development boat. You know that they did a lot of things with it. I read up on it after I was on, but yeah, it turned into an R&D boat.
Oh wow, man! Look, we got Troy on. Troy Stouffer. Wow, good to see you, man. He said he played with that in 1992. Yeah, I was long gone by then.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, guys. So the other thing, they were laying in there. Nobody had a chair. I found that disturbing. Everybody was on like this platform, and if you were to ever see it, it was like nobody had any real space, no personal space. Everybody was just kind of lumped in there together. No seat belts in case you know everybody. If it took a down angle, everybody would just fall to the front onto the TV screen. What you know?
They were originally there for a couple of hours. Isn't that right?
Yeah, I think it was 2 hours down to the bottom, and then I guess you would go see things and check things out. I don't know. To me, it just seemed crazy. This is how they deployed it. I thought this was interesting. This is the deployment method.
Sled that you can see here. And I will say this patented launch sled is very cleverly designed and seems to work very well. So they did a great job with the sled, getting this thing on board ships. One of the nice things about this sled is it allows them to operate in higher sea states than if they were just going off the back of a deep sea ocean vessel. Because they don't need an A crane, they can just slide the sled into the seas, and then they submerge the sled, as we'll see here in a second. Here is another photo of that sled, presumably during testing, because it looks like it was near Everett, Washington, whenever they took this photo. But this is what that sled looks like. Here is it submerged. They submerge it down to 30 feet, where it is then stabilized, and the seas can be pretty rough, 30 feet at the surface, and down here they'll be very calm. And from this platform, this is where they dock and launch the submerged vessel, the Titan. Okay, so the Titan swims away under its own electrical power. This is on June 18th of 2023, using its 4 motors, and begins its descent down to the Titanic wreck. People on board, we now have the names of all 5 people. We have Stockton Rush, the CEO of Oceangate, probably acting as tour guide, I imagine. We have PH, who is a French explorer, also Titanic expert, very well-respected gentleman who presumably would be the pilot and, of course, tour guide for the guests on board. The guests on board are 3 businessmen. Mr. Dawood and his son, tragically, is with him. And another gentleman, Hamish Harding, is the 3rd guest. Total of 5 people on board going down to see the Titanic. And sadly, they have not been heard from at the time of this recording. So at about 1 hour and 40 minutes into the dive, they lose communication with the surface vessel. That data link that they have that is giving position of and depth of the submarine is finally lost. But that is not unexpected, because they saw that loss in testing as well. Whenever the CEO went down on a solo dive, they had lost communication. So this was not, unheard of, which I think delayed the call for assistance from topside. They expected contact to be reestablished probably during ascent, some 8 to 10 hours later. And unfortunately, contact was never reestablished. And then some 12 hours later, at about 9:13 p.m. is when they called the American Coast Guard for a loss of communication with their vessel. So I made a short list of just some of the things I see wrong with this design. I'm sure this list will grow, and we'll know more once the investigation is complete. On the submarine, first, they used a carbon fiber pressure hull. That is great to a point. It's lightweight, it's very strong, but it's not perfect. These things are not made out of magic. And everybody that's worked with carbon fiber in the past knows that it does not crack, it shatters like a porcelain plate. So whenever it does fail, it fails quickly and unexpectedly. And because the test depth of 4,000 meters was never actually tested before they brought guests on board, this is one possibility, is that the carbon fiber pressure hull shattered for whatever reason, maybe a defect in the construction. You could speculate all you want about that, but that's one possibility. Also, he hires young, inexperienced technicians. That alone is not a problem. I support that. It's a great idea, especially with inspiring the next generation. But with your young, inexperienced technicians, you have to hire subject matter experts in submarine operations and safety. You have to have that. And a lot of these concerns could have been addressed before you brought guests on board, or you took anyone down and lost them at sea, as what appears to have happened here. It did not use lessons learned from NASA and the aviation community, as he stated he did in that interview, because he's locking people in a cylinder, in a capsule, if you will, with no way to get out, with oxygen being fed into it, and possibly a high oxygen environment resulting in a fire. Okay. And once there's a fire, there isn't any way to breathe. There's no emergency air breathing that I'm aware of. There's no pictures of it. There's no mention of it in the stat sheet, data sheet. So the test depth, like I said, was not verified. The atmosphere life support system, there's not enough details on that to really make a judgment. I would love to know more as to how they monitored life support and how they scrubbed the CO2 and other toxins like hydrogen and carbon monoxide. All that stuff takes equipment to do that. And if they're just dumping oxygen into this environment, by the time an hour and 40 minutes went by, they would have a high oxygen environment, just like Apollo 1. All right. There's no way to ventilate, that I'm aware of, the pressure hull. So once it does have a toxic gas or smoke, there's no way to get rid of it other than to surface and open the hatch. That's ridiculous and unsafe. There's no emergency air breathing for the people on board. There's no voice communications with topside, because Stockton Rush, in his interview with Teledyne, said that he was tired of being interrupted from topside with update requests, which is why he chose to go with the data acoustic modem that would transmit the position and depth of the submarine continuously so that he could enjoy his submarine ride. So the Titan began its descent with 5 souls on board. Contact was lost after an hour and 40 minutes, and contact was never reestablished. And I really feel terrible for all the families involved because your family members are dead.
And that's what he came up with in his conclusion. This was like 2 days ago. He thought he said the family members are dead. Who else thought that? I thought maybe, because if that's true, all the stuff we've talked about didn't mean anything.
I think
John,
first day, and then they prolonged the announcement.
Yep. And John, don't forget, there's also the other piece that nobody's mentioned here. We've got ears everywhere. We knew the explosion or the implosion happened.
You mean, yeah. You
Yeah.
think so? You Wow. Why would we do that?
Do what? Listen?
Not say.
Hope. Hold out for hope.
Why wouldn't we say that you're right. We do have ways. You're absolutely right, Master Chief.
And with that, I'm afraid, John, I've got another obligation I've got to attend to.
Well, this has been an hour. I thank you, Master Chief. Appreciate
Thank you for bringing me on.
Thanks for coming at such short notice. God bless you. I'll call you and talk to you tomorrow.
Oh, you didn't
Hey, have a
stay.
good one, Master Chief.
To the rest of my brethren, safe following seas. Take care, gentlemen.
All right, guys. All right, Master Chief.
Wow.
We were talking about this yesterday before the news came out, and I said to my wife, I'm like, they're done. That's over. We don't have the ability to retrieve them, even if they were alive.
Right.
We didn't have that. We don't have that.
Well, and even if I think they do. Don't they have a deep diving submersible? But it takes 24 hours for it to.
And that's something else. They didn't have any of that on standby. Like you would think you would have that sitting on standby. The arrogance to me is the depending on, like, if you ride motorcycles, that you need stuff, like you need AAA, you need you need stuff on this motorcycle, because motorcycles are not reliable. They break down, especially for people that ride those raggedy ass Harleys like the one you had, Keith. But
wait a minute. You broke down on that Victory one time.
What?
Multiple times.
The tire went out.
Find the Victory.
No. It wasn't the tire. It was some little gadget thing
about
my
my brakes. You're talking about the brakes. My brakes went out. How many of my videos? Don't watch my videos no more. Don't do that.
Well, wait a minute. Now it's 3 times.
So, but also, that your submarine could not work. Something catastrophic could happen. And so you would think you would have since it takes like 24 hours to get something to you after 3 or 4 days of them fighting about it, arguing about it, and trying to figure out who's going to pay for it. So you would think you would have that sitting out there, or at least sitting. You got 4 days of air. You imagine you would think it would be at least sitting a day away or something. You would think that you would have a transponder. I think they just depended too much on their technology.
Yes.
And something failed. And a submarine sailor would have told you, no, don't depend on that, bro. Yeah, we know it's sub-safe. Yeah, we know it's we know it's Army Navy approved. We got that. You need 2 of those.
Yes.
And you need something else too. You need this, you need that, you need the other. You need a atmospheric monitoring system. You need some kind of a conning tower so people can get out of that thing if they need to. You need a way that folks can let themselves out rather than have to be let out. You need a way to get rid of bad gases if you have a problem in there. One of those TVs catches a fire or just has a very acrid smell. It could be enough. That smell could be poison enough to make you very sick, or something in there while you're trying to get out. But none of that matters if it just got down there and blew up, or imploded rather.
Right.
Yep.
None of that matters if it just got down there and imploded. So I don't know.
Well,
You
we
know,
don't know what happened before the implosion too.
what was that?
Now, I was saying we don't know what failures happened before the implosion. You know,
That's true.
whereas if we had some of these backups, they may have been able to recover. We don't know that, but so you're right. You know, in the end, it imploded, and it doesn't matter at this point, but it could have. Could have been that one system that saved the day.
I noticed one other thing too is on the hatch. The hatch had a glass. What glass that you know of can withstand 13,000 feet of, you're not supposed to be able to see when you go down that deep. What do you need to see for? They need cameras.
Yeah, they need cameras.
They're looking out of a window.
A real window for real, like 20,000 leagues under the sea.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of these things that we guys have just been talking about require hull penetrations
Mm-hmm.
to get the air out, to get the bad air out, the conning tower, the hatch, the camera feed. All of these things require hull penetrations. No.
Failure points. Yeah.
Engineering point. No, this is good enough. Let's go with this.
And it worked for many dives.
How many?
Yeah,
I'm kind of how many? How many or how many tests before this happened? They taking that?
I think this was its third season. I think.
Wow.
I think this might have been like its second or third season. I don't know.
I've been on one submersible / submarine since I've been out of the Navy, and that was at what's the island? Catalina Island. And the reason I did that was it was only 20 feet deep. The water was 20 feet deep.
Hey, did you have your checklist?
Oh yeah, man.
I wouldn't even got on that.
Hey, he probably did zone inspections and everything.
I walked that bad boy and said, "Hey, can you unlock the bad boy from the inside?" 20 feet deep, that's a typical ho, ho, ho,
Yeah.
Oh my God. I wouldn't have got on even that. I wouldn't even got on that. So I want to see a submarine. I haven't seen a submarine in how long? 1989. Keith, how was the last time you were on one? It was about 89 for all of us, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Fred?
Yeah.
No.
Vernon, who do you work for in Connecticut?
Who?
2000. I was on in 2000.
Well, yeah, you stayed in. Yeah, you went back to see.
Vernon, who do you work for in Connecticut?
General Dynamics, Electric Boat.
Do you know Michael Frank?
Mike Frank?
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
What? About 6'2"?
Yes.
John, you know who that is, right?
Is that the same Frank we were in the hot tub with, talking about we'll never live this
I'm
life
going to say IT school. You're going to say the hot tub.
Well, that's because we used to, when we first got there, all we did was worked out, lift weights, and sat in the hot tub for the first 2.5 months.
Trying to get in touch with him now, as a matter of fact.
That's the same Mike Frank. Wow. Yeah, we used to sit down in the hot tub and when we first got to sub school, when we first got to sub TRAFAC, they didn't have a job for us. So for a month or two, all we did was lifted weights, hung out, sat down in the hot tub, and we would all sit down and we'd be looking up in the sky. And I'd say, well, guys, it's not going to be like this forever. People would say, yeah, well, it's like this now.
I think Mike surprised too.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden we finally got our assignment, and life was hell after that. But
Yeah, I
for the
think he rides motorcycles too. Like,
oh wow,
Okay.
yeah, tell him hi for us. Put him
will.
back in touch with us.
Yeah.
Tell him Keith and John. He'll remember us.
Yeah, he'll remember us.
Okay.
Or Bunch and Corley.
Mm-hmm. or Black Dragon. You can. No, he wouldn't know that guy, would he?
But no.
You might not know him.
Wow, man. Wow.
Now, Fred, you were on the Parkey too, weren't you?
No.
Oh no. Oh, okay. Or is that something you'd have to kill me?
No, that was the boat. I was kind of on a support mission. I was on Deck Sierra, which is different than the boat.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, you had that good duty.
Yeah.
It was
So,
pretty good.
Fred, you're out in the world now, just riding in your RV, just chilling.
Yeah, we're retired now, and we're in the midst of a 3-month RV trip. Yeah, just trying to enjoy life.
And the boys, are they still in the Navy? Have they gotten out? What are the boys doing?
They're both out, so they're doing the work, pay bills, and pay taxes thing, raise kids. So good on them.
Amen, man. And wow, everybody's doing every you guys still out in the world doing your things. It's I'm so sorry that it has been so many years since I've talked to you. But we're just really only a stone's throw away, man. So it's good to see you out there. Maybe we can race RVs somewhere sometime, man. The RV life is the life, bro. Keith said he's getting one.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we'll see.
Well, guys, listen, it's been an hour and a little bit, hour and 10, 15 minutes. I want to thank you all for your service. When we were young kids running around in Groton, Connecticut and all that kind of stuff, chasing all the women folk and what have you, we never knew that these days would be here, but here we are, man. And I'm proud of you men, to see you men and all the great things you've done. I'm just proud of y'all. Proud to have been in you guys' circle and your realm. Proud to have shared a brotherhood with you. Proud to be brothers of the fin with you. Proud to have been on submarines with you guys, and proud to know you. Love you guys very much. Appreciate you. Thank you for your service.
All right, same to you, man.
Thank you, Black Dragon.
Take care, brothers. Well, we don't do that often, so we are kind of nostalgic here, looking back at old times. But we did this submarine thing professionally, and we did it so that we could come back home. During my time, I remember losing a submarine or two. I had a friend on a submarine that we lost, but we only lost a couple of people. Everybody else got off during my time, so we learned how to do this very well and very professionally. So of all the submarines, I think there's like 12 of them out there that dive like that or whatever. There was only one that was not certified, and that was this one. Shortcuts, arrogance, shortcuts, relying unreasonably on technology, not planning for enough failures, and not listening to experts in the field may have caused these people's deaths. There was only really 2 true crew members, although everybody had some sort of training. In our world, you train for at least a year, most likely, before you get those dolphins and are considered a true crew member. So we would hope that in the future, folks, I think this will change. It always takes a death like that. I mean, that's what it took to change the Navy's outlook on submarining. We had some catastrophes as well. So maybe this catastrophe will make things better and those lives will not have been gone in vain. Listen, thank you for joining me on this special show, which is not, our biker news thing that we normally do. The Gatekeeper and I, and of course, Goose, my two producers, Gatekeeper and Goose, and I, we appreciate you. We thank you for tuning in, and our prayers and our hearts go out for the families that lost their loved ones, and our prayers and hearts go out to the adventurers, the explorers that push the limits and take us to the next level, even sometimes if it cost them their own lives. But it's those kinds of people, the Apollo people that burned up and stuff like that. It's those people that make those sacrifices that propel us forward and help us accomplish great things. Wolverine Overwrite could have crashed, and we might not be flying today. So people take those risks, and we're proud of the achievements we get afterwards. I'm Black Dragon. That's my 2 cents. Love to hear your 2 cents in the comments section below. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks, and get skinny. Prepare yourself to take the helm as president of your mighty motorcycle club by delving into the pages of Black Dragon's newest book, The President's Bible, Chronicle 1, Principles of Motorcycle Club Leadership. There you will learn to advance your skills in applying the 14 scientific principles of leadership similar to those taught to officers in the United States Naval Service. Available in hardcover, paperback, and ebook. Get yours today on Amazon, Kindle, or order it at your local bookstore. Order your autographed copy from blackdragonsgear.com. Be the best motorcycle club president you can be. Get the book.
Get Black Dragon's first book, The Prospect's Bible, to learn how to join a motorcycle club. It has been an Amazon #1 bestseller for the past 7 years and is required reading for over 3,000 motorcycle clubs worldwide. This book is a must-have for new people venturing onto the motorcycle club set. It will teach you how to prepare yourself for service to the motorcycle club nation and show you how to qualify a motorcycle club to be worthy of your service. Available on Amazon, Kindle, and for order at your local bookstore. Get your autographed copy at blackdragonsgear.com. Be the best motorcycle club prospect you can be. Get the book.